What's good? It's your brother YK the Truth and Napah bodies the Abo community. I mean, it's embarrassing, man. Let's play the video.
So are you
It's
saying
not long. It's just one particular question that I asked him. I don't know why. Maybe it's my little nerves right now that I can't get to the direct.
I don't know. Are you still on the panel, Senator?
All right, so here we go.
I'm here. Go ahead, play it.
Yeah,
Briefly, now I have a few questions, and first, one of my questions. Oh, first of all, before I actually get started, guys, Dr. Eltis has a book, The Atlantic.
Now, we can actually look into that book. They're trying to make it like Napah is only using information from 14 years ago. If you go inside this very book right here, David Eltis is saying the same damn thing. Now, this is from the book Atlantic Cataclysm, Rethinking the Atlantic Slave Trade, right? And it says right here, for the latter group, release from a slave ship was truly meaningless. The final chapter tracks the wide range of outcomes for a recaptive people and compares these to the experiences of the nearly 6 million people of African descent in the Americas who were emancipated in the century after the 1791 outbreak of the Saint Domingue Rebellion. He didn't say nothing about Indian descent. In his very book, it says we are of African descent. So you gotta hold that L. Let's keep going. All right? He's saying the same thing that we're saying. David Eltis agrees with us. David Eltis don't agree with y'all. David Eltis don't agree with Sharice. So why is she using David Eltis?
The Atlantic transatlantic slave trade and okay, here we go. U.S. transatlantic slave trade, 1640. I grabbed mine from Amazon and learning about who I am identity wise. There has been a lot of what I will call pushback on what we know as the transatlantic slave trade, and I just want to ask you just some brief questions from that particular, just maybe one or two questions from that particular article. In that article, I noticed that you referenced the 9th census of the United States, which indicates that less than 0.1% of the quote Black population was African born. So how does this statistic inform our understanding of the demographics of enslaved people in the United States?
Yes, the slave trade to the U.S. was much smaller than people realize, I think. And in fact, staggeringly small when you consider that at the point of the Civil War, there were close to 4 million African Americans.
Let's stop right there. There were close to 4 million African American. Did he say Indians? No. So why are you sharing this? Let me play it again.
Staggeringly small when you consider that at the point of the Civil War, there were close to 4 million African Americans.
African Americans. All right? David Eltis agrees with us that the 300,000 turned to 4 million due to natural population. Okay? This is what David Eltis knows. Even Dulcie is going to say that David Eltis says those 4 million were African. Let me play the video.
Oh, well, he's saying, that made it to the United States, less than an estimated 300,000 Africans made it to the United States of the 12.5 million Africans, and all this are his estimates. And then he's saying that from that 300,000, the Africans were able to rapidly like reproduce with each other to the point that they were 4 million by the Civil War. What the?
So why are you guys trying to make it as if those 4 million is anything other than African people? Huh?
Living in the country. And the question, of course, arises, how come that number was so great if the actual number of arrivals was probably less than 400,000?
Okay. So that's all we're trying to.
So why she stopped the video? Why she didn't play the rest? For him to give the information that he provided, the evidence that he provided. No, she cherry picked even that part of the video. Everything is a cherry pick. But you clearly heard David Eltis say, African American. You Abos gotta hold this L. Like y'all out here blocking people, muting people. Y'all just desperate, man. The pseudos huddling up. All y'all do is huddle up. Crying.
Basically help y'all understand is that no one's saying that the idea around it didn't occur. I mean, but the numbers, the millions is.
So now she's saying nobody say it didn't occur. But these same people will be like, it couldn't have been possible because how was people sleeping in their feces? And like they always double talk. They double talk. They'll say one thing and then on another video, they'll be like, well, we're never saying that the slave trade never happened. But then you will catch them later on saying that the slave trade never happened. All they do is double talk.
Cap, it is.
Right.
But
So y'all don't need to bring up. Y'all don't need to bring up.
He just said it.
After she's
So we don't need to bring up nothing that he, no, none of that no more.
No, I have to bring up.
What you mean we not going to bring up none of that no more? Are you crazy? David Eltis don't agree with you. And Napah choke slam Sharice and OTK from the top ropes. Just bodied them. Bodied them. Luckily, Napah was on our channel. Luckily, she seen me reach out to David Eltis.
No,
because we've been confused.
We can play more.
All right, everybody quiet. Everybody quiet. Napah, go ahead.
Thank you, King. I appreciate it. So now, before I bring up the paper again, what we're going to look at what he actually says, and we're going to stay focused. We've never said, we know that in the Americas, this is the least amount of slaves arrived here. It's not like an aha moment. Y'all are catching.
I spoke on it 2 days ago. Man,
please.
They got to let this sister finish.
Yo, what's going on?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Seven. And yes, so we already know this. We also know that they're breeding farms. That's how, if he's talking about how could there be so many, we were bred incessantly. Incessantly bred. I don't get this. So just so we don't mislead people to again make people think this man is at all saying that African American people, Black people, have anything to do with indigenous people, and you're using him as a source, and it's erroneous because he says people who are Black are the descendants of African slaves. Let me get this clip from him talking about how every single port, you just listen to him in this interview with Emery. He's going to talk about how slavery, the ships were going all over the United States. You want to talk about numbers? We're talking about the fact that it was exclusively African. That's it. It was exclusively African.
Now, part of the point where she gets confused at is this, real quick. When they say we're African born, she thinks that doesn't mean that the slaves can't be born, bred here, like you just said.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. It's called natural population. They know this, but they just don't get it.
They're not. They're not.
But does
They're
that
not. They're
mean
not. They're not.
He
Right,
always
that's not what I'm saying. And I feel like you guys were
not
very
what he
like
said.
interrupting me and not
Let's have
trying to let me really speak.
Can we all, nobody could hear anybody what you're saying. So let me say this. What
crazy.
he's saying is correct. Excuse me. What he's saying is correct, because you can't come in and say, oh, it's just a little amount. We were bred, and they were Africans from Africa who were bred. So that means that it's African descendancy. So let me just play what he says.
Yo, Napah cooking them. Napah cooking them. Sharice Big Mac. Sharice Big Mac.
Uncle Side, on some real, Uncle Side.
And you got OTK up there, Uncle Side. Yo, this is bad for the Abos, man. This is a bad look. Yo, y'all need better team players, man. Y'all don't got no hitters. You got Abos up there calling him Uncle Side. Bruh, you got Napah choke slamming Sharice.
Up in the morning, prepared to fight, only to find out you was gonna get your ass choke slammed today.
Bruh, this is bad, man. This is bad, yo.
That's right here.
This
right here. Hey, listen, man. Be quiet real quick. Please. Be quiet. This is my show. Do a show or something. Do something. So I can remember you about. Until then, stay in your place.
Remember you, brother.
You see how he gotta get chaotic.
Anyway, apparently, my brother brought me
what they'll
here.
see is the extent
ago.
of the involvement of the whole Atlantic world in the slave trade.
We had this man on our show less than 3 months ago.
Of any size.
Are you hearing what he's saying? I mean, I don't know why you don't want.
That's the only time they muted you, because the video was playing. But you got on Smoke Signal's channel and act like people was muting you all night. Started crying. He muted you because the video was playing, brother.
Wants to play this because she came in and she misled people on
No, I did.
Everybody.
That's not the truth.
All right, hold on. Everybody stop. Why are y'all talking if it's only one person supposed to be talking?
Thank you.
I mean, I step away, come back. I hear King J and OTK going at it. Y'all, what's happening?
Yeah.
We cool.
Yeah,
okay,
my
so
bad, my bad. I'm out, man, because
why are you out, OTK? We just want to
OTK ready to run. He like, I'm out. Napah ready to cook some Abos stew. And OTK like, I'm out, ready to run. He ready to run on Sharice. About to lead his sister. About to leave Sister Freedom and all. That's all they do. Now you see why I call them the running Abos. Do you see?
We just want to play this clip and then we can let
hold on, Napah. OTK. You can't be out, brother. Come on, man. That's like running. You can't be doing that, brother. That's
meat.
Called running over here. When you do that.
Everybody was able to do all the talking except me, and it's my show.
Nah, you can talk.
Remember, you had a presentation, OTK. You came with 30 minutes of scholarship. And all your scholarship was proving that the Indians were slaves. But y'all say y'all don't come from slaves. But you did a whole presentation called American Indian Slavery in the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. As if the transatlantic slave trade and the Indian slavery was the same. You goofball. You goofy. They are not the same. So I don't know why you having this presentation when the Abos don't even believe they were slaves. They hate coming from slaves. Every time we say our ancestors were enslaved, they say, "Oh, y'all want to come from slaves. Y'all want to come from slaves. We not from no slaves."
No, I'll tell you what. You're right.
All right, when you go back and
he's a runner, he's a track star.
Wind the film and you watch how long I was quiet listening.
You can talk right after Nepal. I'll let you do your whole presentation and then I'll open up for the questions.
Exactly. That's not Sai's fault that your scholarship was short. It's not his fault that you came with 30 minutes of info proving the Indian slavery that you Abos don't agree with. That's not Sai's fault. That's your fault.
But when I open up for questions and people start coming at you, I'm saying that you cut people off. You don't want them to ask you the question or whatever. Come on, brother. You good.
See, OTK is used to being on his platform where he could just mute people and put people in the back. But when he have to fight straight up, he don't know what to do.
This is your show. You're gonna ask the questions. I mean, you're gonna be able to present.
Yeah, I noticed you let a bunch of people going against me talk though too, boy, without getting cut off. And I shut up. I muted my mic and let them talk too.
Man, stop crying. He just let Sharice do a whole presentation. And when they was interrupting Sharice, he told them, "Yo, y'all gotta be quiet." He even cut Napah off for Sharice. We remember that. So stop crying. All you Abos do is cry and run.
But every time I talk, I get cut off.
No, brother. No, brother. You had people going with you, man. Come on, man. Don't do that. I let the Indians speak. Come on, man. Don't do that, brother.
I'm definitely dead.
Napah, you there?
Napah, what year was this? Because he looked different.
Yeah, I was talking with the mute. Sorry, I muted out when you're talking. Okay, so this is the gentleman that we're discussing with his information. We want to keep in mind that all of us are on the same page with the that the numbers are not. They didn't make it. They didn't make it through the. They didn't make it over here. It was 12 million. Okay, so this is the gentleman that we're discussing with his information. We want to keep in mind that all of us are on the same page with the that the numbers are not. They didn't make it. They didn't make it through the. They didn't make it over here. It was 12.
Exactly. So for all the Abos and pseudos that keep saying, "Well, it's impossible for them to make it over here," a lot of them died. Millions of them died. All right.
12 million taken, but it was horrible conditions. So yeah, we get that. Well, we want to see when he talks about his atlas that he's created, watch how prevalent the slave trade is over the Americas. Okay. I want you to see all these ports where these slaves were delivered and then bred like animals. So look at what he shows on this map, and you tell me that we're not the descendants of these slaves. Let's take a look.
Napah, what year was this that he did this?
I don't know the year, but this is him. This is Eltis. This is David Eltis. This is him talking about transatlantic slave trade, and this is the atlas of, he's showing.
Because the reason why Sister Freedom is asking that question is because she thinks that David Eltis' information changed and that he believes something totally different today.
He's going to show us the atlas of, listen what he says. He says there wasn't one port, one place in the United States from the Atlantic that there weren't delivering Africans to. Listen, please.
What they'll see is the extent of the involvement of the whole Atlantic world in the slave trade.
Can you hear him okay? You can hear him, right?
Yes, we can hear him.
He says the extent of the involvement of the whole world in the transatlantic slave trade.
There isn't a single port of any size anywhere in the Atlantic that wasn't connected to the slave trade in some way.
not even one port was not connected to Africans being delivered onto the shores of this country, of this continent.
Napah beating them up, yeah.
What we're showing here is that particular ports in Africa had strong connections with particular ports and therefore areas in the Americas. And it's very easy to see those connections the way the data is presented in the form of maps. To take the first section, you look at where the slave ships are originating, but the atlas maps are set up in such a way that you can see where they go in Africa and then where they go in the Americas after they...
He's showing us, I have to stop it because, you know, for fair use, he's showing us that the slaves were delivered onto this continent.
Right here, Savannah, Georgia. So that's North America. So he agrees that the slave trade happened. He's agreeing with us. So why are you guys using information that agrees with us? Make it make sense.
Because these slaves that you're bringing this information saying, oh, it's such a small number, they were delivered here, and we are the descendants of these slaves, according to Eltis. Let's keep listening.
Leave the port.
The slaves were delivered onto this continent in the Americas. These slaves that you're bringing this information saying, oh, it's such a small number, they were delivered here, and we are the descendants of these slaves, according to Eltis. Let's keep listening.
Leave the port. And in the second section, which focuses on Africa, then you can see exactly where the major centers of the slave trading business are, but you can also see at the same time where the ships are coming from.
The South, the North, the Middle Colonies, everywhere. Black people, Africans.
Hold that L. Hold it.
In Europe, and where they're going in the Americas afterwards. And then the same thing's true when we go into the third section, which focuses on the Americas. The unfortunate fact is that people removed from Africa via the slave trade were essentially renamed.
So he's making a point that we don't even know.
They were renamed.
Know who we are anymore.
When they reached the Americas, and sometimes before they left Africa. They were renamed partly because in the case of the Iberians, that is to say the Portuguese and the Spanish, there was a strong emphasis on baptism. It was nominal baptism in many cases, but it effectively for the owners and therefore for the record.
Stop for a minute, Nepal.
Yes, sir.
Remember when I said, because we've been stripped of our names, stripped of our language, stripped of all of that?
Yes, sir.
And they say that I cut myself. Now he's saying the same thing.
Yes.
Exactly. He's saying the same thing that we say.
He said they don't know who they are anymore. That's the same thing. They've been stripped of a third knowledge of self.
And this is why you guys think you're Aboriginal. This is why you think you a Blackfoot, a Cherokee. But you ain't nothing but a wannabe.
And they said I cut myself. I was wrong. And now, don't forget, y'all the one that brought him up. We didn't bring him up. Y'all brought him up and started trying to use
another pseudo dies by their own source. Now y'all see why we always say the same shit? Y'all always die by your own sources. You always die by your own information because you have no information. Therefore, you got to try to cherry pick our information and our evidence and try to manipulate it to fit your theory because you have nobody that agrees with you. This is why you keep dying by your own sources because you have nobody that's agreeing that y'all come from here. So the only way y'all got to get some type of so-called evidence is if you got to try to misinterpret the evidence that we got, the historians that we got, because y'all ain't got no historians. Y'all historians is Lane Calloway. Lane Calloway. This is why y'all always die by your own sources, for real.
And the people that was already here too. They went through that and still going through it.
Okay, all right.
Right, but you got to prove you're those people. And so far, none of you guys prove that you come from those people.
So now, years ago.
So you don't want to hear anymore? Okay, so we got him out the way, right?
No, I would love to hear.
So we got David Eltis out the way.
You're misusing his information. You're using him to try to skew and shoehorn an idea that hardly any people here that are black are Africans, and that the Middle Passage, again, you're trying to diminish the impact of the Middle Passage on our people. So he's not on your side. In fact, there was a gentleman that you guys always spar back and forth with. He actually reached out to him and asked him clearly. He said, there are people who are saying that you...
That's me, by the way.
Agree with them, and that you... and alluding to the fact that you are... they're using your information to say that we're Native Americans. Are we the descendants of Africans? The man clearly responded, yes, Black people are the descendants of Africans. He said, you're absolutely right. And so stop misusing his word. Go find somebody else, because this ain't it.